Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to CCMA's webinar on keys to a robust senior gift program with our presenters, Andrew Robinson and Dan Moraczewski. Did I get that right, Dan?
Moraczewski.
Moraczewski. Oh, getting there. Only one syllable was wrong. Andrew is the president of Petrus Development, an established leader in fund development across many sectors of the nonprofit community. He's worked for over 12 years in development roles in Catholic campus ministry, higher education, academic medicine. Previously at Texas A&M Foundation, St. Thomas More Newman Center at Ohio State, and St. Mary's Catholic Center at Texas A&M University. He's welcomed the opportunity to lead Petrus Development and impact more campus ministries around the country. Andrew has a strong passion for Catholic campus ministry and enjoys helping directors and staff build a vision for the future and implement the practices and systems that will help them to achieve their goal. When not working with clients, he loves spending time with his wife Cheryl and two daughters, Annabelle and Nora. He also has a healthy appetite for adventure, particularly when it comes to biking, snowboarding, road trips, and marathons. So welcome, Andrew and Dan. Dan's Chief Operating Officer, and Dan Moraczewski, the Chief Operating Officer of Petrus Development. Dan will lead the talent search process for clients, manage company finances, and support clients and prospective clients in their needs. He previously supported Petrus Development as president, board member, and as a senior consultant. He began his career with Campbell Soup in Omaha, Nebraska, in the cost accounting department for the line. Desiring a career focused on travel and interaction with people, he joined American Greetings as a sales rep. Began a 29 career of sales and marketing management. Dan retired at the end of 2004 and returned to Texas, where he has spent 10 years of his American Greetings career. Set up his own consulting practice, dealing with companies wanting to grow their presence with retailers. Dan currently resides in Austin with his wife, Peggy. So we welcome Dan and Andrew. And at this point, I just want to explain that if you do have a question, please, again, feel free to text it to me. I am the organizer, and I will give them the question. Or at the end, you may just say, I have a question. I will open up your microphone. So let's get started. Welcome, Dan. I guess you're up first. So why don't we have you begin?
Okay. Thanks, Frank. Well, good afternoon, everybody. On behalf of Andrew Robison and myself, Dan Moraczewski, we are glad you could join us this afternoon. Okay, Frank, it's not switching.
Okay.
So, I'm trying to switch to the agenda, but it won't let me.
Okay, why don't you, sorry folks, 1 second please. Continue recording.
Well, thank you again, everybody, and sorry about the technical glitches. For those of you that know me, you know that's not uncommon, so I apologize for that. So today we've got really three topics we're going to talk about, and then we will leave time for questions. But the first one, for those of you that don't know us, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Petrus Development. That'll just be one slide. Then we want to talk a little bit about why development, why it is so important to have a fundraising program in place. But when we get to the senior gift program, I want to mention the fact that this program can be used by any campus ministry, whether they have a full-blown fundraising program or not. Senior gift program is very easy. It is student-driven and student-led, as Andrew will talk about. So just understand the fact that the senior gift program is where we're going to spend our time, but I want to give you a little bit of information about development. So just real quick on Petrus Development, we were founded in 2004. Two gentlemen founded us, Peter DeCartry and John Flynn. They actually decided to form the company at a CCMA meeting, so it is very appropriate we're doing this today. They started with one client, Duke University, which for those of you who know Duke's program, it's been a very successful program over the years, but they operated in the basement of a building at that point and wanted to grow their ministry. Over the past 13 years, Petrus has worked with over 90 campus ministries across the country. We've helped them raise $300 million, both through sustainable development and capital campaign programs. And the goal was and is to assist campus ministry in achieving goals through sustainable development. And again, just in case there's any questions, sustainable development is building a long-term relationship with your with your donors. And a capital campaign is a one-time ask of a donor. You still can build a relationship with them, but it's for a specific goal. So just to kind of clarify those two things before we move on. So the creation of a development program is a tool to empower ministry to reach more people more effectively. Development programs should seek meaningful and long-term relationships with alumni, parents, and friends of the ministry. And what's key to this, which is a little bit what I explained before, it's not about the ministry. It's more about creating a relationship. And a good way to look at it is, how do you get to the hearts and minds of your donors long before you ever start thinking about talking to them about a financial donation? Get them involved with your ministry. So Henry Nouwen, hopefully all of you have read the book that talks about spirituality of fundraising. It's Henry Nouwen's book. This one is not from that book, but he's talking about, this is in the book Here and Now, from the perspective of the gospel, fundraising is not a response to a crisis. Fundraising is first and foremost a form of ministry, is a way of announcing our vision and inviting others into our mission. And you have to have a vision that you can share with people. And when you can share that vision with people, they're much more likely to enter into the relationship with you. Sorry. So fundraising is a ministry that invites people to become involved in our church in a profound way. When they invest in your mission, they give their heart more deeply to the church. And at Baylor University, Father Anthony Odeong was there for many years before he left to go to Rome to do his PhD. But when he was leaving to go to Rome, he thanked me and Petrus for allowing him to take his ministry from St. Peter's at Baylor out to people's homes, offices, on the street, wherever he met people. And until he got involved with development, he didn't see that opportunity. He thought there would be people coming into St. Peter's to could meet with them and help form their religious thought process. But he got a chance through development to go out and reach out to people. So, and it's also a chance to talk to people about God's work. And I think one of the most important things we do in development at campus ministry is provide the dollars to keep Catholics Catholic while they're in college. And you're all aware of the statistics. It's only about 1 in 5 Catholic students that enter college a Catholic, that exit college a Catholic. And so we have a lot of work to do, and that work takes a lot of people with us. And the best way to do that is through development. And the benefactor's need to give is always greater than the organization's need to receive. It is a hard concept for people to believe that a benefactor wants to give to you more. But if you think about it, when you find an area that the donor is interested in, and then you have a need in that particular interest, in that same interest, that is a perfect marriage for a donor and a ministry. So I just want to mention a few of those things before we get into our topic. So again, fundraising is executed in many forms: events, appeals, grants, face-to-face requests, etc. But today we're focused on one subject, and that's the senior class giving program. And I'll go back to a point I made early, and that is that every campus in the country, and I think there's 1,153 schools that have campus ministry, they can all execute a senior class giving program whether they've ever thought about development or have an interest in development. So if you're on the phone and you're not in development, but you want to do this program, this is a very doable program. With that, Frank, I'm going to let you turn this over to Andrew.
Okay, thank you. Stand by, Andrew.
Sure thing.
Okay, you should have it now, Andrew, if you put up the slides, please.
Okay, not yet, Frank.
Yeah, no, you're not up yet. You need to open up your PowerPoint and hit slideshow. And share the screen. Sorry, share screen.
Yep, it's not, I don't have the option to show screen just yet.
All right.
So do you want me to change your slides for you? And
Let me make sure I have the right Andrew here. Hold on.
Okay.
We have 3 Andrews. Let's see. Hold on, Andrew. Andrew, just count down for me 5, 4, 3, please. All right, that's you. It says you're presenter.
There we go.
We still don't see the slides, so I'll go back to Dan's. Let Dan present, and you can talk. All right? Dan, you're getting the code now. Okay.
Andrew, you just let me know when you want me to switch slides.
Will do. So I'll give you everybody a little background on myself. So I now am full-time with Petrus Development, but before this, I worked in development at St. Mary's Catholic Center, which is the campus ministry at Texas A&M, and then the St. Thomas More Newman Center at Ohio State University, and then as Major Gift Officer, Director of Development for the Texas A&M College of Medicine. So throughout that time, I have always loved campus ministry, always loved the development work, just the ability to engage our alumni and supporters, parents, families, supporters in the work while they're not, even when they're not available to be the hands of the ministry as they were when they were students. And so, the senior class gift program started at St. Mary's back in 2005, at least this model that we're going to talk about today. And this has always been really a special part of my life and my career, because I really truly believe that that this is one of the best ways that we can engage alumni in the act of giving back to the Catholic Church. So whenever I visit with alumni, young alumni, I typically get 2 responses. One response is always, well, I'll give you money later when I'm older and I have more money to give, and it'll make a difference. And the other response that I get is, well, I could give you a little bit of money now, but what good is my $10 or my $20 or what I could afford, when in reality I know how much it costs to run an operation like the one you have. And so what this program does is this gives people the opportunity to give in a meaningful way, but also give within their means as young alumni. So the senior class gift program it kind of accomplishes 3 different things. It's a pledge and give kind of a model where we're asking students to make a long-term commitment and give an amount that's within their means. It's student directed. It gets our students behind the wheel to really drive and implement this program, which creates long-term supporters among those students and true ambassadors for the program. And then also it's meaningful and impactful. The amounts of dollars that can be raised by a small group of people make a difference, and they make an impact. And that's important, especially to younger donors today. They want to know that what they're giving, what they're supporting, they are actually making a difference. And you see that, I see that all the time in this, in sort of a trend of donors giving more restricted gifts. They want to know what they're giving is making an impact, and they want to see that impact played out. And the senior class gift allows them to do that. So, Dan, you want to switch slides for me?
Okay, well, it's locked up again. Sorry. Frank, we're locked. Oops.
Okay. Great. So
Okay,
one of the, no problem. So when I'm visiting with students, I ask them a couple of different questions, or recent alum. A, what do you want your legacy to be? Now that you've completed your time at campus, on campus, serving the students, what do you want your legacy or your classes or your group's legacy to be at the Catholic Center moving forward? How can you make a difference now and not 20 or 40 years in the distance? How can you lead the way for future generations of Catholics? How can you set an example as a leader now that other students, other alumni are going to follow after? And would you join your classmates in making a difference? Would you come together as a group to support your campus ministry? So that's a lot of buildup for how does this program actually work. So when I was at St. Mary's in 2005, we had an endowment. We were in the middle of a campaign to create an endowment, and you could create a named endowed fund for $25,000. That was the minimum. So the John and Sue Smith Fund or the Bishop O'Leary Fund could be $25,000. Well, being a recent graduate, I wanted to figure out how I could get my classmates to have an endowed fund, or my friends in the next class. And so how were we going to raise $25,000? That was the idea that really started this whole process. So in the next slide, you'll see, or in this slide, you'll see how my thought process for how I got that implemented that first year. So I thought if I could get 25 seniors to each give $1,000 at 25, that would give us $25,000 a month, $25,000 total. Well, how could I convince 25 seniors to each give $1,000? And if we broke it down to 50 months, that was $20, and at the time, $20.05 a month. So that's the model. That's the pledge and give model at its core, is inviting our seniors to give $1,000. And some programs have options where they can give more than that, but they're asking their seniors to give $1,000 over time. So that's that pledge an amount and give it over easily, monthly, through a checking or credit card, and a checking account or a credit card. And I'll explain how we present this to students in a way that makes sense for them. But that at the core is what the senior class gift model is that we present. So you'll see how students can come together and give at a high level with a meaningful level with amounts that are within their means. You can switch the slide, Dan. So how does this work? It's student directed. We get student class gift agents. We form the committee, and they are the ones that really drive this campaign. The key to creating the class gift committee that works is you create motivated students. So as we're talking about this, just think in your minds of students who are seniors or who are going to be seniors who fit in some of these categories or all these categories. They're motivated students. These are your students who are active, they're leaders among the class, they're leaders of the ministry, and they understand that the church needs them to step up. You provide practical training. So this program has we have all sorts of different tips and techniques for how they can implement this over the course of the school year, a whole schedule even. In fact, it's a step-by-step strategy and plan. This is not something complicated. This is getting students to go and ask their peers, them themselves pledging, but then asking their peers to pledge $1,000 at $20 a month. Not very difficult. And then we there's a couple of different things that they can do at the end of the year to wrap it up, which really bring it all together and give them a target. Students provide creative and innovative solutions. So I can tell you over the years, some of the ways that the students have come up with to present this idea to their classmates has been pretty great. Everything from pub nights to seniors handing out popsicles after Mass, to, if not popsicles, then hot chocolate, certainly, depending on where your ministry is and the time of the year. But the students are really the ones that drive this, and they are the ones who are coming up with great ideas. And then as I mentioned before, the students who lead this initiative also become future leaders for the church. So this is great training for them as they move forward into their parishes and into their workplaces down the road, is how they can see a project that they worked on that was successful, and they can see how that can be implemented at their parish and in the future. And let's switch to the next one. And then meaningful and impactful. So the senior class gift, whether it's $25,000 or whether it's $10,000, and I'll share some examples in a minute, it's an impactful amount. It's a meaningful gift. It's a gift that the students will get behind. They'll celebrate. They'll be excited about, and they'll talk about how they made a difference at the church. If your organization, if your institution has the opportunity to build an endowment, this is a great way for students to participate and to contribute to that endowment. St. Mary's started this program back in 2005, as I mentioned, and they've raised over $800,000 now for their endowment, and that's all through senior class gifts. So when you think about the difference that makes, that's $40,000 to $50,000 a year in endowment, in revenue off of that endowment, just off of the seniors. But if it's not endowment, then what's the possibility of that gift could make now? The ministries the programs that they want to support, that they're active in, that could make a meaningful difference in those programs as well. Building a legacy for future generations, self-sustaining with friendly competition. The first meeting that we ever have with the class gift committee, when they sit down, the first thing that they're going to ask is, what did the class year before me raise? And if it was $10,000, then their goal instantly is going to be $11,000. And then the next class, their goal is instantly going to be $12,000. And that's not a bad thing, because students love that. They thrive on that. And it makes it more exciting for them to be involved and to have a challenge, to have a goal. And I like this phrase, not pennies, but purpose. So I've heard of seniors, or I've heard of universities where they want their participation rate of their alumni to be as high as possible, which is not a bad thing. But some of the ways that they've gone about doing that are not positive and not impactful. So there was a program that I heard about years ago where they asked their seniors to each contribute a quarter, or even whatever loose change was in their pockets. They had stations all over campus where you could drop your change. And I always thought about that, and I thought, well, that's the one way to get participation, but what kind of an impact does that make? How is that meaningful? And how are the seniors going to believe that they're making a difference when they're dropping their loose change? And so it's not pennies that we're asking for, but it's a purpose. It's meaningful gifts. So you want to switch, Dan? And then what
Andy,
does this,
if I could interrupt, Andy? I'm sorry if I could interrupt you. I got a question over from Sabrina. I wonder what the fulfillment rate is for the class gift pledges.
Sure. So the fulfillment over time is high. It's I don't have an exact number, but I'd put it probably at 85 to 90% plus. And the reason for that is because when you ask the seniors to pledge, you ask for them to pay that out over $20 a month on their checking account and their credit card. So those are automatically drafted. And the only reason that they will discontinue that is if the credit card changes, which we know happens, or if they call and they say, look, $20 is too much of a push. Whatever the reason is, I need to put that on hold, but I do want to continue. That's the answer that students give. So if you stay on top of credit cards and checking accounts as they're changing, then you'll have a fulfillment rate of over 90%.
Great. Sabrina, do you have any follow-up? I've opened your microphone. Okay. She may not have a microphone, so if you do have a question,
Okay,
Sabrina, just follow up and send me a note, and I'll put it back up. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Andy.
That's fine. No, thanks, Frank. That's great. So in summary, before I switch to the how do we share this with students, what are the benefits of this? It's real income for your ministry. It's a pipeline of new donors. Over time, we've seen 70 to 75% of students, when they fulfill this 50-month pledge, they continue to give monthly, and oftentimes that's 5 years down the road, so they're even increasing. I had a student, he studied engineering at A&M. He was part of the first class gift 2005. And we presented this to him. He filled out the pledge form, and he called me a week later and he said, $20 a month I can do a little bit more than that because I've got a great job. Can I do $50 a month to pay it off quicker? And I said, absolutely. So he did. So he paid it off much quicker than that. And then when that pledge was fulfilled, I called him up and I said, thank you very much, Mark, for completing your pledge. I really appreciate it. And he said, oh, this is great. I love being part of this program. And actually now I'm in a much better spot financially. And so I'd like to increase my monthly giving to $300 a month. And I'll do that as long as I can. Now, we're not always going to have students jump from $20 to $50 to $300. But the point is that they want to continue giving, and it's an easy process for them. And it's not a burden on them to send a check every month. And it gets them involved in the monthly giving program. The monthly giving program at St. Mary's at A&M now has over 1,000 members that are giving monthly through their checking account and credit card, and many, many, many of them started on the class gift program. So it also transforms attitudes towards giving. I can't tell you how many students that I've talked to over time that have participated in this senior class gift model that have said, wow, I can't believe that our class was able to put together a gift of $10,000 or $20,000 or whatever that amount is. That really shows me that what's possible. And in fact, another example is a young family gave to the senior class gift, and they made the $1,000 pledge, two of them each doing $1,000. When they fulfilled that, they called up and they said, what would it take for us to have our own endowed fund in our family's name? And we told them, well, that's $25,000. And they said, okay, well, we'll have to think about it. That'd be a big jump, but that's something that we'd like to do eventually. And those questions never would have come up if they hadn't had the example of giving as a class and giving at a high level like that. It also inspires older alumni. We had a member from the class of the 1940s who saw the class gift program in a newsletter, and they called up and they said, well, these young kids are given $20,000 or $25,000. My class would like to do something in our ourselves, because we can't let those young kids beat us. And so they created the classes of the 1940s endowed fund through the class gift program. At USC in California, sharing the class gift model with their board members lit a fire under those board members of how excited they were to see those young graduates giving back at such a high level. And that's really exciting. That, a common complaint that I hear from alumni, older alumni, is, every class is going to complain about, the new generations and how they're not like they used to be in the good old days. This program illustrates to them that new graduates, that young professionals in the field are giving back in a meaningful way. And then it creates a program that will grow over time. Colorado State started this. I was just visiting with Laura yesterday, and they started, the RAM Catholic Ministry started the class gift program in 2012, and that class gift was $6,000. The next class gift was about $10,000. The following class gift was about $22,000. The next class gift was about $33,000. And this last year, class of 2017, their class gift was $48,000. So you see that this program does grow if you continue to invest and you recruit those students that are able to lead it as the ambassadors.
Andy, Andrew has a question. Do you keep records based on class, example year of 2015 versus 16 versus 17, or is it cumulative? how is that marketed? And Andrew, your microphone is open if you want to extend that.
I think my question was answered hearing how you were mentioning that each year one was $6,000, the next year was $10,000. I was just kind of curious on how that was kept or marketed towards future contributions for future classes.
Yep, sure. It's a great question, and it's you know, I've seen it done both ways, where there's a single class gift sort of fund, and each class is invited to contribute to that fund, and if that's what your organization needs to do for maturity purposes, for whatever, then that's something that moves the ball along and gets people excited. What I have seen is by having the class of so that picture that I showed, or that Dan showed earlier, of the group holding that check, that was the class of 2016, presenting a check to the priest at the end of the year. Every year, St. Mary's at A&M has a picture of the senior class gift presenting that check to Father every year, and they go back all the way, 12 years. So anytime you can give the class that identity to come together as a class, and then they look back at previous classes and saw how much they gave, then I think that inspires them to do a little bit, to give them that self-identity, to want to do the best, the best job that they can do. Great question.
That makes sense. Have you ever, what happens if you start it now and you want to go backwards to try to market towards classes that have graduated in the past but didn't get involved in class gift? Have you guys ever tried that?
Yep. So Michigan Tech did this. Michigan Tech's campus ministry did this when they did their first class gift. I guess it would have been this past year. And so they, never having done it before, they opened it up to the class of 2017, but they also contacted seniors or graduates from the last 3 or 5 years. I can't remember which one did, and just said, this is the new program we're starting. This class gift is 2017 is the first one that we've done. Would you, here's the model. We're inviting you to contribute to that. And by doing it that way, for the first time, their first class gift was over $30,000, just because they increased the pool. So that's a way to do it. At St. Mary's, now they have, instead of doing each class year individually, they have each decade has its own class fund. And so I mentioned the classes of the 40s. They also have a class of the 50s, class of the 60s, class of the 70s, 80s, 90s, and so on. So whatever, I challenge you to be creative and come up with what you think is going to be received best by your alumni. But the answer is, if there's a possibility for you to reach back and talk to older alumni, then it's a great opportunity. And showing them what the new classes of alumni are doing will always inspire them and encourage them to participate. Great question.
Thank you.
Good. Well, now, so that sort of explains it. So let me jump into the student presentation part of it. And this is about a 15-minute presentation, if even that much, 10 minutes, that I like to give to the seniors. Feel free to, model something after this, use it. But this illustrates to a senior how this can be something that they can participate in. So Dan, can you move the slide along?
Yeah, right now I'm not able to. Sorry. Why don't you keep going, and I'll catch up with you in just a second. I have to reset this every so often.
That's fine. So the first thing that I ask him, and when he gets to this slide, you'll see, first thing that I ask the seniors is, what kind of a difference would you like to make? The same questions that I asked earlier. If your class could raise $25,000, which I know is possible, then what would that mean? What kind of an impact would that mean on the ministry here? The programs that you are involved with, the retreats, the small groups, the liturgy, what would $25,000 mean for that, for those programs? What would $10,000 mean for those programs? What about outreach, the communications, the evangelization, the ministry that you're doing on campus? If you have missionaries such as Focus or St. Paul's Outreach or another missionary group going on campus, what could $25,000 mean for that kind of outreach, that programs? What about for your facilities? If your campus ministry is in you're running out of meeting space, or the campus, the Catholic Center is in need of some enhancements or some expansion. What would $25,000? What kind of a difference would that mean for your ministry? So those are the questions that So those are the questions that I asked for the classes. So what would $25,000 mean? It would make a significant impact. Would we all agree? Absolutely. That kind of a gift from your class could be tremendously impactful. Switch it, Dan. So now your first thought, all right, I don't have $25,000. You're all sitting there thinking, well, I'm about to graduate. I've got $25,000 in student debt maybe, but I certainly don't have $25,000 to make a difference here at the Catholic Center. Switch it. Okay, so that's fine, fair. I understand that. What about if you had 25 seniors, 25 graduates who could each give $1,000, and then we raise the $25,000? If we could find 25 seniors to give $1,000 each, that would get us to that $25,000 goal. And as a class working together, a gift of that size really could become a reality. So now what are you thinking? Next thought. Second thought, well, okay, shoot, I don't have $1,000. I totally get it. I'm about to graduate. I don't have $1,000. Well, what if I told you that you could make that $1,000 in easy payments of $20.17 a month, or next year $20.18 a month? That's 50 months. That's just a little over 4 years. And we set that up on a checking account or a credit card, and you won't even notice. It gives you an opportunity also to budget, which I know as a new graduate and as a new professional making money, that's something that you're really excited about doing, right? Is making your budget. Well, it's something that we encourage you to do, and you should think about being mindful of being a steward of your own resources. And this gives you a chance to budget $20.17 a month into your budget to make a gift that would be impactful to the ministry. Switch it. So now what's your third thought? Okay, let's be real here, people. I don't have $20, right? True. Okay, so what are some things that cost you $20 a month that you could possibly maybe sacrifice for the good of the ministry? You go to Outback Steakhouse, you get a 9-ounce center cut filet. This presentation was from a couple of years ago. It may not even be $20 now, maybe more than that. But think about a nice meal out that you could potentially not have, and but offer that up as a gift for the Catholic Center here. What about McDonald's? How many of you go to McDonald's maybe as a new graduate, maybe as a college student? Sure. Maybe as a new graduate, you can stop going to McDonald's and getting 20 cheeseburgers for $20. Save that money, apply that to your class gift, and make an impact here at the church. Or now that you're graduating, you won't have expenses like textbooks every year. So $20, one textbook, being honest, $20 is probably 30 pages of one of those textbooks. I understand that. So what are some things that you won't have to pay for now that you could do $20? Ultimately, the question that I want to ask is, what do you want your legacy to be? And if $20 a month can create a legacy that's meaningful, that's impactful to the campus ministry here, then is that something that you'd be open and willing to do? And then your final thought, of course, now that I've made this as easy as possible, is how can I help? Great question. And we have a senior class gift program that's a way for you to help and make a real impact here at the Catholic Center. So again, just to summarize, this is real income for your ministry. Again, as I mentioned at the classes or at the Colorado State Campus Ministry, $6,000 was meaningful at that time, and that made a difference. $10,000 made even more of a difference. So $48,000 makes a tremendous difference at a ministry, at any one of our ministries. So that is real income. That is real support for your ministry. As development directors, or as people that are trying to actively get out and find who the new people are that we need to cultivate and visit with about making larger gifts for impact, this creates your pipeline of new donors. Every year, if you have 10, 20, 30, 40, 100 new students coming on as donors for your program, think about 10 years from now. Like I mentioned at St. Mary's at A&M, they've had over 800 students give to the class gift since 2005. That's 800 potential donors that now can be called on, that are 10 years out of school, that can make meaningful gifts to the capital campaign that they're currently giving, that they're currently driving towards. it transforms the attitudes toward giving. Again, as I mentioned, it's just a totally brand new way of thinking about giving that makes a difference. It inspires older alumni, and it creates a program that will grow over time. So that's the Senior Class Gift Program. As Dan mentioned, this is a program that if you have a full-time development director, or if you have a campus minister and a couple of active seniors, you can implement at your campus ministry with the return that's certainly worth the investment for all the reasons we talked about. I thank you all very much for joining us. If you have any questions, this is contact information for myself and for Dan. We'd love to visit with you, answer questions, and share with you any more about this program. I can also put you in contact with other campus ministries that have that are a couple of years down the road with senior class giving, and let you visit with them about how they've been able to see this program grow over time in a way that really has impacted their ministry. So thank you all very much. So Deacon, I guess we're done. So if you have folks that have questions, I'm happy to take them now. Yep.
If there are any questions now, please send them to Deacon Frank.
So, folks, if you have questions, this would be a good time to send them over. Either that or just send me a little note that says, I have a question, and I can open up your microphone. You don't have to put your name because I'll see your name when it comes up. So let's give it a moment, give folks a chance to find where to write. Okay, we got... Andrew, you had a question. Will we get a copy of this presentation? It will be available via the CCMA website. Krista will send out a note with the presentation after this session. Usually I get it to her by tomorrow, and she'll have it up sometime after that. Linda has a question. How clear are you at the beginning that when they sign up for EFT, that it will not discontinue unless they advise?
So the first couple of years we did the class gift, they signed up, and then that was it. They knew that this was a 50-month pledge. What we added onto the giving form, the pledge form, was an option for them to say, check here if they wanted to discontinue that gift when they were done. So by leaving that option, it was an opt-out option. By leaving that off, then they were giving permission for us to continue that gift after the 50-month was up. What I will say, though, is that once that pledge is complete and they hit that 50 months, then that is a great opportunity, whether they want to continue giving by EFT at that amount afterwards, or whether they want to stop it. That's a great opportunity for us as you know, the representative of the church, to reach out to them, to say thank you, to let them know what their gift meant for the ministry, and to just ensure that that's a gift that they want to make going forward. The great thing about endowment giving is that the class of 2005, you know, when they started that gift in 2005, they thought, you know, the idea was this is a gift in perpetuity. The fund will remain there forever. And so, you know, the pledges were completed around 2009, 2010. That was funded, and then that started generating income already. So that class of 2005 has already had, what, 7 years of endowment funds generated for the ministry at St. Mary's, which is awesome. It's an awesome way to go back and talk with your alumni that gave, to show them the impact that they actually have made already.
Great. Andrew asked, let's see, how do we get more information or training materials?
Sure. So contact information is right there, email and phone number for myself and for Dan. I am, as I mentioned, this is a passion of mine. I love senior class giving for all the reasons that I've talked about, and I am an advocate for it big time. If anybody has any questions, whether it's, you know, can you send me some materials? Can you help me to generate a pledge form? Can you help me explain, you know, to my students how to do this? Shoot me an email, give me a call, and I am happy to visit with you about it. I can also connect you with other ministries. I've mentioned a couple here today, Colorado State, Michigan Tech, you know, some others that have been doing it for a number of years. and I'm happy to put you in contact with those folks, and they can tell you about their experiences at their ministries. So that's the easiest way. Contact me.
Thank you. Joanne has a question. With seniors who don't have a job finalized at graduation or are moving, relocating after graduation, how can you talk to them about making the commitment even with so many uncertainties in their life?
Great question. And I totally glossed over this point, but it's one of the absolute key points of this program. So the whole success hinges on seniors, you getting them to make their pledge, sign their form, and getting their information before they leave campus. All of us know how hard it is to track down students after they're gone. Heck, it's hard enough to track them down when they're on campus. It's next to impossible after they leave. So the whole success of this hinges on getting that, getting their pledge and getting their information, their credit card or their checking account information before they leave. But like the question that says, many of them won't start if they have a job, they won't start their job until a couple of weeks after graduation. They won't get their paycheck. So it's critical that you give the option for them to make their pledge now, but not start their payments until a future date. So what we found is 3 months after graduation is perfect. So we can explain that to our graduates that you make your gift now. This gives you all summer. It gives you 3 months to get your budget in order before you're ever going to see that $20 hit. And then if it's, if you're even unsure of what's going to happen then, which is, that's usually July, August, or June, July, August. So in August, I'll even give you a call. I'll touch base with you, make sure it's a good time before I start drafting on that checking account. Again, that gives you a chance to make that touch point and just keep up with our alumni. But that's critical. When I've worked on these class gifts, 70% choose the option to delay their payments until that August or even later. If somebody's doing grad school for a year, if they're not going to graduate until December of the following year, give them the option to start that pledge payment then. It adds a little bit of complication on our end in terms of just tracking and making sure that we begin those draft payments at the right time. But it's absolutely critical for our students who want to give. I tell students all the time, if this is a program you want to participate in, we will find a way to make it possible. And if that's being flexible on the amount, sometimes somebody wants to start at $10 a month and then increase down the road. That's fine. We'll make it work. Sometimes people want to make a one-time gift. That's fine. We'll make it work. The point is that we want to make this a gift that you can be a part of if you have the interest and the passion.
Great. Thanks.
Great question. I'm so sorry I missed that. Yep.
Any other questions at this point? If you'd like to have me open your microphone, just send a note over saying you have a question. If not, feel free to write the question up and I'll read it out to them. Let's give it a moment here. Question from Matt. What's been a 25,000 impact? What's been a 25,000 impact in the past? I'm not sure that I understand that. Matt, I'm going to open up your microphone if you don't mind. If you have a microphone, Matt, can you state that again? What you're asking? I'm guessing he does not have a microphone.
So maybe I'll answer a question. Maybe this is the one he's asking, but maybe the question is what's an example of a $25,000 impact at a campus ministry? So that's something that we as development directors and campus ministers and chaplains can very easily point to all the different ways that $25,000 can make an impact at a ministry. Now, as even more specific you can get is looking at your just going through your budget, your ministry budget or your programming budget at the beginning of the fiscal year, and looking at areas that are $10,000, $15,000, $25,000 of expenses on your end. And maybe that's your retreat ministry. Maybe that's your, the liturgical supplies for the year are $10,000 or $6,000 for the year. Maybe the travel budget for your, bringing in folks for your busy students retreat is $7,000. Whatever the case may be, those are our ability as workers in this to explain that to people is critical. Now, what I'm not saying is that if you tell the senior class gift, if you give them a number of examples and they say, here's where $25,000 could make an impact. It could fund our retreats for a year. It could fund our Sunday suppers for 2 years. It could, whatever, that you're not then promising that their gift is going to be restricted to that item in the budget. Because what we really want is we want these gifts to be unrestricted as much as possible so that they fund all the ministries. And I explain that to seniors and they get it. That's a concern early on, is what's this money going to be used for? I want to make sure that my money is to be used for a program that I feel passionate about. Now that's a question at the front end, but the explanation, once we answer that question with, what your gift means is that we can fund a number of different programs that impact all of our students and all of our ministries. And here's some examples of those. And by making your gift, by making your pledge and partnering with your classmates, you're impacting all these areas. If you get that one that you're passionate about in particular, then they get that and they understand that, and it takes away, it's no longer a concern when actually making the pledge. And the truth of the matter, if somebody doesn't want to give to the class gift because they want to make sure that their $1,000 gets used for, green M&Ms in the candy bowls at the receptionist desk, then encourage them to make their gift directly to the Catholic Center, and that's something that they're really passionate about. You don't want to be part of the class gift. We'd still love for you to support the ministry in that way, and if you make that gift, then we'll make sure that happens. So that's the honest answer, is it supports everything, but it is important for us as storytellers to know what some examples are when people ask that question.
Great. That answers his question. Very good. So any other questions? We'll just wait a moment here. We're coming to the end of our time. Okay, hearing none, I'll just give it one more second here. All right. Well, Dan and Andy, thank you very much for your presentation today on behalf of CCMA. For the rest of you, thank you for joining us. Do you have any last comments, gentlemen? Dan, Andrew?
Frank, just thank you for organizing it, and CCMA, and to everybody that participated today. Certainly, as Andrew said, hopefully you wrote down phone numbers or email, and feel free to contact us if there's additional questions.
Great, thanks. And we'll have this, as I said, I'm sorry, Andrew, go ahead.
I'll just say one more thing, that I applaud each of you for being on the call today. This is you taking the time, taking the hour to join us today shows that you and your ministry is interested in finding opportunities for your students to give back and to support the ministry. And I think that's to be commended. And I just want to say that you're any way that I can help, that we can help to make that easier, to make that reality for you, we're more than happy to do it. So thank you all very much for joining us today and showing that commitment.
Okay. Well, again, thank you to both of you for joining us today and presenting this information. And just to remind the rest of us that this will be available online through CCMA very shortly if you'd like others on your team to watch it. And don't forget to join us and sign up for our next webinar, which is in November 7th at 2 o'clock. 7 insights from the study on the Catholic Campus Ministry. So again, on behalf of CCMA, we thank you all for joining us. We look forward to seeing you in November. Have a great day. Thank you again.